Okay, this is a quick update on the Bitcoin rally, and I wanted to cover this particular market because I've received a lot of questions because I started off at the beginning of the month in December talking about this, also the end of November. And I'll show you where we brought all of this, how we kind of got into this trade back a while ago. And for those of you, this is a review. For those of you who are in the coaching program, you can go into the module that reads live coaching call replays. And there are several updates on this particular trade with Bitcoin along the way up, beginning at the end of November when we really started talking about it and people were more interested as it was starting to break out, and then through December all the way up until today. Again, today is January 7th, 2021, and we are trading during the New York session. So the way you construct your charts, first of all, for those of you who are new to watching this methodology, you're new into the group, or you're considering using my trading system or understanding it, I'll briefly and quickly explain what I'm doing. Is I'm using bar charts or candlestick charts, using Wyckoff price cycle or price analysis, and then incorporating that information with my decisions based on my point and figure charts. So based on the way you construct your point and figure charts will give you obviously different readings. That's the first thing. And I spend a great deal of time in my coaching program. The online trading course is a section where I break down the way I construct my point and figure charts for each different market that I trade. So Forex, Bitcoin, commodities, gold, silver, oil, indices. They're all somewhat different to a certain degree, including stocks. So this method with point and figure and then using Wyckoff price cycle analysis can be used to trade any market, any market. Now you can slow this down or you can speed it up. And what I mean by that is that very often you see with a lot of the videos, especially with crypto, with currencies, I'm day trading very often with a lot of those videos that you see that I post, because I know we've got a big diverse group of people that some of them have the time to trade and day trade all day long, and others are operating a full-time business or working a full-time job, and they can't sit and spend that much time. So you can slow things down if you have a limited amount of time, and you can create and craft your charts, construct them in a way that would mimic, let's say, a 4-hour or a daily time frame, weekly time frame, meaning that you can slow things down. This has been going on for quite a while. I'm going to pull the other chart, that bar chart here, so you can see exactly how far I go back with this. But this is also another area of particular interest, which gave us another entry. You hear me talk about this white space. This is one particular pattern that I look for, and I teach this in my coaching program, and it works regardless of the time frame. So this is like a bigger picture look at Bitcoin, and then I also do it on the smaller time frame if I was going to day trade. So this gives an entry. This day right here is December 17th, and it really starts to accelerate again. Now, obviously, it was in an uptrend already. There are multiple entry opportunities, especially with a trade like this and a rally in a market that's really accelerating to the upside. So let's go ahead and pull the bar chart. So this is a 1-hour time frame. Now, very often, what you were looking at just a moment ago is more of a bigger picture, bigger time frame view. This is more of a myopic, closer, pinpoint kind of entry opportunity. So I'm going to be looking at a 1-hour time frame to get different opportunities to get into the trade, and I'm going to be measuring and calculating and analyzing the phases throughout the entire accumulation or reaccumulation phase, which is the same thing that we're doing when we're trying to identify tops and bottoms. We're trying to identify accumulation at the lows or distribution at the highs to see if there's going to be some kind of a reversal with the new either markup phase or markdown phase, depending on which direction you're trading it in. So to have the ability to read this, and I say this because it's very important. If you look at this range right here where I'm moving my cursor, this goes from about the 26th of December, 27th of December, all the way over here to it broke out here on the 30th and the 31st. But if you look at it, if we were to go to just this area right here, it's tempting to look at it and think, well, maybe this is a top. Maybe I should start shorting it. So that's what I'm getting at. You have to have the ability to identify whether or not this is a distribution area, and if this is actually a top and it's going to start coming back down, or is it reaccumulation in an uptrend? And this is what we've seen many times over and over again over the last couple of months. Areas of reaccumulation. You have to be able to read this and dissect this. This is why we use that phase analysis. So we teach this, we cover this in great detail in the online course. So I'm going to go all the way back over here to the beginning of December, end of November. So you can see right here, this is November 25th. Again, this is a 1-hour bar chart. And this is an area of accumulation. So we've got that selling climax, the automatic rally or reaction. And I always say leave your resistance and support levels here based on those two levels. And from this point on, this is going to give me a pretty good indication as to whether or not price is going to break down or break out to the upside, depending on which direction I'm trading it in. And also if I've correctly analyzed the phases. So in phase B, which is usually the construction or the filling out of this consolidation phase, that's usually where I'm going to stay away from getting into trades. It gets pretty choppy. It also depends on the time frame. So if I'm looking at, let's say, a daily time frame and it looked like this, well, perhaps I could get some intraday trades off of support and resistance, but I would do it very carefully. But if I'm trading off of the time frame itself that I'm actually looking at or analyzing, if I see phase B, I'm staying away from it. And then I'm going to be noticing inside of phase C the retests of the support level that we see. So you can see it developed here. So when we finally get the breakout, very often I'm going to confirm the breakout and then wait for a final test. But I'm going to quickly move along through this because, again, I'm not telling anyone to buy or sell Bitcoin at this point. I'm just giving you an update on everything that we've come together to agree on as far as my students that are following this or trading Bitcoin. 40,000, between 40,000 and 42,000 was my count based on the data at the end of November and the beginning of December. Between 40 and 42,000 was the count where I would say this is a decent area where, based on the information that I was trading off of, the point and figure and the bar charts and the accumulation phases that I was looking at, between 40,000 and 42,000 was my final count. Now, beyond that, again, I talked about how it's been in an interesting range of accumulation for quite some time that's lasted well more than a year. That gives me an even further count, which is above the 95,000 level. Now, again, I am not telling anybody to get into the trade right now and buy and hold for 95,000. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying at this point is that if I go back over to the live candle, at this point, it has hit the first target. The final target, I guess I should say, the more accurate count. So we have a conservative count, and then we have the actual count. How far is price going to go? How far could we expect to hold on to this trade before we start really considering taking profits or perhaps closing up the trade and then looking for another opportunity? Because if this ends up being some kind of a top for some time, and then we get rotation into another cryptocurrency, it's very, very possible that this could start moving into a more deeper correction or retest of some of these previous highs, which could then act as support. It's a possibility, and this could move into an area of reaccumulation and stay there for a while. It could stay there for a few weeks. It could stay there for a couple of months. And I certainly don't want anybody to listen to this and listen to this video and then say, hear me say that my another count, an additional count, taking into consideration the previous range of accumulation down there at the lows that I was talking about that's lasted a few years. If I've got a count that's above 95,000, I don't want anybody jumping in at this point because the retracements or the pullbacks could be pretty significant. And that could put a lot of pressure on people if they're not paying attention to just how quick this could reverse. This one, Bitcoin can reverse and pull back dramatically. As you can see here, it did just on this 1 hour bar. You can see the high here at 40,300 and a low at 36,500. So that's a really sharp pullback. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that. So you've got to have your entries very, very precise. And you want to pinpoint these areas. And what I'm doing here with these areas of reaccumulation, again, identifying these phases and then paying attention to the breakout and where it bounces. This is one of those perfect examples that I was talking about a moment ago where when it finally does break out, and you've probably already seen this, I do have this posted on Facebook as well, in addition to the YouTube channel and inside of the membership course. So you can see here how it retests and bounces right off of that level, that buying climax, that resistance level. This is an area of reaccumulation. We want to be aware whether or not it's an area of reaccumulation or is it actually distribution, and is this a high? That's really the question. So developing your skill on how to read this and using point and figure to pinpoint your entries is going to give you a much better trade opportunity where you're more likely to get into the trade when it's going to continue to take off instead of experiencing these lengthy periods of more consolidation. The actual count was 42, and then we have another further count that would get me to above 95,000 if it continues. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility at this point. Based on today's close, we're going to have to see how it works. I would expect some more testing and possibly, some moves back up above today's high. But if it does settle here and it creates some kind of a climactic action here at the top, and it starts to move into a really interesting range of reaccumulation, I don't want to see anybody getting into the trade just because they heard me say 95,000. So keep that in mind. 95,000 does not have to happen. It may be that we never see 95,000. But as far as the initial trade and how this came together back at the end of November and the beginning of December, we've hit our target at between the 40,000 and the 42,000 level. So again, if I scroll all the way back over here, you can see how the whole thing kind of picked up for us here at the end of November, and then we get the opportunity here. There's actually another live update coaching call video in the membership course. Again, in that section, that module, live coaching call replay. And I'm talking about this one because this one actually started to break out and bounce off of that low. This was I believe this was on a Friday. This was over the weekend, and then it really started to accelerate through. So you can see the levels that we're talking about. We're talking about down here at the 18,000, the 19,000 level, and then it broke out. It went sideways again the following week. This is actually the week of December 13th, running through December 16th, and then it broke out again. So we also want to be paying attention to these moves. The breakouts and the trends and the rallies themselves, they're showing quite a bit of urgency if you look at it. Instead of the way it was at the beginning of December, you had these lengthy phases of reaccumulation, and then they start to shorten. And the reactions are really quick. And here it starts to slow down over the last couple of days. But again, that's why I'm kind of thinking that there could be the possibility that at some point we might see a near-term top, which again doesn't necessarily mean the top in crypto or Bitcoin, but just a temporary phase. And then it may move inside a consolidation for quite some time. Again, the amount of time we'll have to wait and see. I'll be analyzing it. I'll be updating and putting posts in the membership course. But again, just be really careful. But I just want to show you that at this point, my expectations and the messages that I was receiving, should we hold on? Should we lock in profits? I see that it hit the target that you were talking about a month ago. What do we do here? So again, as far as my coaching students, if you're following this along, it has reached the target that we've been talking about for the last month and a half. There is a further count. But in order to get into the trade, I would recommend locking in all profits or perhaps even closing out the trade right around this level. Pay attention, keep an eye. There might be another push through and take out the highs, and then it'll pull back down again, something like that. But, an up thrust that kind of fails and then pulls back inside a consolidation. That's what I would expect at this point based on the way these price swings move and the urgency to get into the trade. But it doesn't really indicate that smart money is actually selling or not interested in prices going any higher. So if there is that phase of reaccumulation, smart money is going to take more time to reaccumulate more prior to the next markup, leading into the possibility of 95,000. Now, if there's a further count above 95,000, we'll be able to identify that along the way as we see multiple areas of reaccumulation that gives us the opportunity to add to the overall count. So again, please, number one, do not get into the trade right now just because you heard me say 95,000. 95,000 may not even happen. The trade that we've been in since the end of November, the beginning of December, has finally hit its target today. I would recommend either closing out the trade or taking profits at this point and then watching to see what's going to happen next. So again, thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate it. Great trade for those of you that have been with me since the middle or the end of November, and you've taken some of these trade opportunities. Again, please be careful. I'm not telling anyone to buy or sell just yet. This is just for educational purposes only. This is my analysis. This is how I trade it. This is what I've been doing over the last month and a half. You can see the videos, the live coaching call replays inside of the membership course so that you can study and follow along. And this is exactly what we're doing every day. We're using volume. We're using, I prefer to use bar charts, but we also use candlestick charts. Yesterday I made several videos with candlestick charts, nothing wrong with that. And then we're taking that data with volume in the bar chart or the candlestick chart, and we're analyzing these phases of reaccumulation or redistribution, whatever it is that we're trading. In this case, it's reaccumulation. And then we're finding our pinpoint entries with the point and figure. Thank you again. Good luck trading, and please be very, very careful on these retracements.